BHP's boss says mining companies need to be much more innovative. The holiday season might be ending, but we've got the list of most popular overseas tourist destinations for 2023, and Woolworths named the top brand in the country while Optus loses ground thanks to last year's cyber attack. It's Thursday, the 19th of January, 2023. Welcome to Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Now, Sean, the Fear and Greed community, the Fear and Greed listeners are fantastic.
They are.
You know why?
Why?
Because they have been writing to us via Instagram, Fear and Greed Podcast, or our website, fearandgreed.com.au, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, with some really good contributions.
Right.
Like this one. This came in yesterday, and I've just been sitting on it, just waiting to tell you about it. This is from a listener by the name of Lockie. And a little bit of context to this, it's in response to some conversations we've had over the last couple of days. Initially, a note from another listener who said that they were looking forward to us coming back and for my kind of witty contributions and your self-serving rants. Then we were talking about kind of potential nicknames for us, and I proposed the local unit in tribute really to the Aussie dollar. Anyway, Lockie then says, "Morning, gentlemen. Congratulations on a great start to the year, great content and excellent banter between you. In the wake of the local unit, Michael Thompson, might I suggest that Sean could also do with a nickname? My workmate Joseph, a fellow listener, and I wonder if Sean the Checkout Aylmer, Sean the Checkout Aylmer is appropriate.
The checkout.
As in self-serve checkout." Self-serve checkout. Appreciate your work and sportsmanship, gents. And so clearly Lockie is a very valued listener. I love that. Sean the Checkout Aylmer, in recognition of your self-serving rants about everything from the Aussie dollar through to the cost of your home renovations.
What am I supposed to say?
I think you just accept it.
I'm happy to be the checkout. I have no Lockie. Oh, look, Lockie, I'm trying to be nice to you here, but, in my mind, we're going, how dare they hear that bugger say I'm the checkout? What do you mean I'm not self-serving? However, I'm just going to pass that through. Lockie, cracking nickname, the checkout. Thanks, mate. Thanks a hell of a lot.
Well played, Lockie. You've got him all riled up now. This is going to be a good show. We are back, of course, with our regular programs this week, slightly shorter though, and then everything else is back to normal completely from next week with the morning edition, afternoon edition, the week ahead, daily interviews, and the Fast Five episodes for anyone who wants all of the news in just 5 minutes. But on with the news, Sean, and the main story this morning, Davos, which is an annual talk fest between governments and business and interest groups held in Switzerland every year, kicked off this week, and the boss of BHP, Mike Henry, said that the mining industry will need to take more risks and be increasingly innovative in order to keep up with the energy needs, particularly during the transition to greener power.
Yes, Mr. Henry said miners needed to get more out of existing mines and find new supplies, but new mines take time, so the focus needs to be on greater use of data and artificial intelligence to get more out of what miners already have. He made an interesting point about metals and minerals and the green transition. Mr. Henry said people now understood the need for more lithium, cobalt, nickel, for example, but most people don't realise that production in those areas are generally in decline. So there needs to be a huge investment just to keep up with current output levels, which we know are far below what the future needs. That's a lot of money miners are going to have to spend. He also said that getting new mines up and running now took much, much longer, 15 to 20 years to get a mine up, running in full production and operating efficiently. A decade ago, it took about 10 years. He wants governments to ensure there's policy certainty, and he called on them to cut red tape. It's a really interesting point that we all need these metals and minerals, but they're actually in decline.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, Sean. There were plenty of other high-profile speakers at Davos, from former US Secretary of State. When we say former, he was the Secretary of State quite some time ago, Henry Kissinger, right through to Chinese Vice Premier Liu He.
Yes, Henry Kissinger was the 70s. In fact, he's considered one of the great negotiators of his era. He effectively negotiated an end to the Vietnam War. I think that was 1973 or thereabouts. So we're talking a former Secretary of State. Anyway, he appeared via video at Davos, and he basically said that people need to get Russia to the table to get an end to that war. Liu He, a very senior Chinese leader who was educated in the US, told the forum that China wanted to be back in the tent, according to the Telegraph of London. Now, commentators said it really signalled that China wants to pivot back towards international harmony. Remember, we've just started a new 5-year plan in China. The previous 5-year plan under Xi Jinping, perhaps characterised is a little strong, but during the period, there was a breakdown in international harmony. Now, Donald Trump obviously had a large part in that as well. But the speech that Liu He gave at Davos suggested that China was kind of reaching out more.
Sean, just very briefly on Henry Kissinger. He is 99 years old. Did you know?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think, I'm just putting together a list of, if I was to have dinner with a group of, what are they, nonagenarians, I suppose. On that list, there would be Henry Kissinger, 99, Warren Buffett, 92, Charlie Munger, who works with Warren Buffett, obviously, at Berkshire Hathaway, 99 as well.
Yeah. I'd add Rupert Murdoch and his new partner.
Oh, yes. Yep. How old is Rupert Murdoch these days?
I think he's 91. He's in his 90s, definitely.
Okay. It's a good list.
It's a very good list. And I bet all those guys know each other.
Do you reckon they hang out?
Oh, well, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett would.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to be part of that. It'd be so intimidating. Anything you say is like, I don't think I belong here.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, we'll continue to add to that list. Now, Sean, shares in online marketplace Redbubble, which was really a COVID darling, wasn't it? It tumbled more than 10% yesterday after the group said it'll sack around 20% of its workforce amid flat revenue and lower profitability.
Yes, there's a divergence emerging between some of the bricks and mortar retailers who are doing very well and the online sellers like Redbubble. Yesterday, it said it was forced to invest in promotional activities to attract new and existing customers. Shareholders didn't like the news and sold the company down. Now, Michael, what I thought was interesting yesterday on the market, things are really starting to pick up. This is corporate activity I'm talking about. Wealth management group Hub24's share price fell quite a bit, almost 5%, after it said net inflows were lower than expected. Ampol reported improved petroleum margins at its Lytton refinery, sending its share price higher. Nickel Industries, it came out and said 2 of its construction workers in Indonesia had died in December. It's investigating that. Lithium miner Alchem said demand for its products remains strong, sending its share price higher. Just a fair bit going on again. By the end yesterday, the S&P ASX 200 was up a touch, 7 points. That's another new closing high for quite a few weeks. It's doing pretty well, that market.
Yeah, it sure is. Sean, Optus is the big loser in the latest list of brand valuations, reflecting the cyber attack on the telco last year. In fact, the group's value lost about $1.2 billion, according to Brand Finance Australia's analysis.
Nothing like a major customer crisis to harm the value of a brand, Michael. It pushed Optus's ranking from number 11, that's the number 11 brand in terms of value, from number 11 last year to number 17 this year. At the top of the list in terms of brand value, again, is Woolworths, followed by Telstra, Commonwealth Bank and Coles. Then came National Australia Bank, BHP and ANZ. It's funny, isn't it, that the banks seem to all be there, even though we like to bash the banks. The total value of the top 100 Australian brands rose by 15% to a record $195 billion, according to a report in the Financial Review. Now, Brand Finance uses 2 metrics, brand value, that's what we've been talking about, and brand strength. Brand value considers how much of a brand's profit can be attributed to the brand. Brand strength looks at things like marketing, financial performance, sustainability, that type of stuff. On that measure, Bunnings comes in at number 1.
Yeah, that actually kind of makes sense. Now, Sean, arrivals and departures from Australia ramped up sharply at the end of last year, with 1.5 million departures last December and nearly 1.3 million arrivals. Those numbers are, of course, pretty much up from zero a year earlier.
Yes, we are back flying in and out of the country again, not quite to pre-pandemic levels, but we are about 2/3 of the way there, according to the Bureau of Statistics. In December 2019, more than 2.2 million people departed the country, 1.5 million last December, so we're getting there, and about 1.9 million arrived in 2019 compared to 2022's 1.3 million, so things are ramping up again. Which leads me Call me checkout if you want. To the second part of the story.
Hmm.
When Jackie and I go away, we almost always spend time planning our next holiday. Like, when better to plan a holiday than when you're on holidays?
Yeah.
And at this time of year, there's always plenty of suggestions where to go. And so we have been talking about where to go next if we were to go overseas. And the Washington Post turns up with the top 10 overseas holiday destinations for 2023. Obviously, US holiday destinations, still a good guide for us. Guess what's number one, Michael? Everyone's favourite tourist destination. You get no points for getting this one right.
Hang on, that's setting me up to fail,
Ooh,
because
sorry.
So this is actually from the perspective of US travellers. So, because if I was to say from Australia, I would actually take a leaf out of Sean Checkout Aylmer's book and just go with self-interest and say Fiji, because that is my favourite international destination. I'm assuming it's not. I'm going to say somewhere like Mexico.
Italy, actually.
Ah, there you go. See,
Yeah.
there was no way in the world I was going to get that right.
I apologise because I didn't realise how ignorant you were, Michael, so I should probably not have given you that harder question.
Ouch.
You're calling me checkout. It's on.
What else is on the list, Checkout?
The next few are actually Asian countries. Japan comes in at number 2, then Southeast Asia generally comes in at number 3. Thailand, Bali, Vietnam. Caribbean, number 4. Egypt, number 5. Then the American West, Mexico. And, throw in things like African safaris, Morocco, small cruises, those sorts of things. Just interesting. What's really popular all of a sudden in the US is our region, or Asia at least, Japan, and then Southeast Asia.
And where did you decide to go? I think that's what everybody really wants to know. Where is Checkout and Jackie? Where are you heading next?
Well, we are thinking about, we actually want to go and visit Morocco.
Really?
Yeah. We in a sort of moment of madness a couple of months ago, and this is something that I haven't actually told you and Adam Lang, our colleague, we did book tickets for later this year. So we will go. We are going to go to Europe. We're going to go to France, and maybe Spain, but we'd really like to go to Morocco. See, now, Michael, don't complain. You have young children. Jackie and I, far older than you. Our kids are almost through school. 6 of the 8 have made it through school. So we're starting to enjoy or reap the benefits of having all those hard years. So we're going on big holidays.
Yeah, and just springing it on your colleagues.
Apologies.
All right, moving on, Sean. LinkedIn has released its annual Jobs on the Rise list. This is a very good time of year for lists, isn't it? And number 1 was a technical program manager who essentially oversees a number of related technical or IT projects for an organisation. Probably no surprise, makes sense. But number 2, I thought, was a little left field, a clinical exercise physiologist.
Yes. Now, a clinical exercise physiologist designs, assigns, and supervises exercise and lifestyle programs for people with health issues. Rehab, injury prevention. A lot of these people work in hospitals. I was really surprised by that one too. Number 3 was site reliability engineers, basically making sure software systems are working properly. Number 4 was sales development rep. Every business needs a salesperson, don't they? Number 5 was platform engineer, which is mostly about cloud-related platforms. Now, the list uses LinkedIn data to show the 25 fastest growing job titles over the past 5 years. There are plenty of tech roles in the list. About half of them are tech roles, but there's roles in insurance, in employment coaching, in health. It's handy, Michael, because even if you're not looking for a job, it just shows how much your current job might just be in demand or not.
Or not, yes. Thanks for adding that one in there at the end. I feel like that was a little bit targeted, but anyway. All right, that pretty much brings us to the end. Sean, I'd like to add to our list of people over 90 that I'd like to have dinner with Jimmy Carter, former US president, who is still alive and 98 years old.
Wow, definitely. You've got a real bent towards American leaders in this list.
Yes. Well, it's because there are so many of them and they seem to live to quite mature ages.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 19th of January, 2023. Make sure you're following the podcast. Join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget our weekly podcast called How Do They Afford That is out every Wednesday. This week's episode is all about risk profiles, but there's some other good stuff, including investing for the FIRE movement and also how to pay your home loan off faster as interest rates are rising. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.